Hi, I'm Peter Bell. I look after employee relations, and when we're talking about performance improvement, we need to consider the nature of the employment relationship we have with the person whose performance we want to manage. And I'd like to talk to you about at least 5 different categories we have in terms of employee or person that works for iCare. The first and the most regular is our award employees. So these employees are employed under the Insurance and Care New South Wales Award, which is an award of the New South Wales Industrial Relations Commission. There are a couple of issues that really put award employees different to everyone else. One of those is that they can be members of the Public Service Association, which is the union that represents our employees, and therefore when we raise performance issues, they're regularly represented by the PSA. The other is that the final arbiter of any decision that we make in respect to their employment is reviewed by the Industrial Relations Commission. And when the Commission reviews these matters, they have the option of reinstating or determining a payment that iCare will need to make. And so when we're managing the performance, particularly for poor performers, we need to do this with some care and in consultation with your HR business partner and regularly with me. The second category of employee are those executives who are employed under an individual employment agreement. Now, we're dealing with people who are employed outside the jurisdiction of the Industrial Relations Commission, people who are not represented by the Public Service Association, but still are our employees, and therefore in terms of their contract are entitled to procedural fairness in having their performance managed, and we need to make sure that if we work through to a point of unsatisfactory performance, which is one of the options under the contract, we do that in a fair and reasonable way. We then have 2 categories of what we call contingent workers. The first is the normal contingent worker who, like a casual, is employed on an hour-to-hour basis. In New South Wales, the limitation generally is a period up to 6 months. A contingent worker is not employed by iCare, but employed either by an agency or by our service provider, Commensura. Those that are employed through an agency typically would apply the Banking, Finance and Insurance Award, which is an award made under the Fair Work Act. As soon as that is the situation, those people are entitled to make an unfair dismissal claim to the Fair Work Commission. And it won't be an action taken against us, it'll be an action taken against their employer. And so when we're dealing with contingent workers, what we need to do is make sure that we're dealing with the worker's employer, either at the agency or Commensura, and that we are reflecting on the service that they are providing through their agency to iCare, and where that service is below that which we'd expect for an iCare employee. The second category is a group that we call max-term contingent workers. And these are people where we've established a longer-term contract, and typically they're employed and receive normal leave arrangements, sick leave, annual leave, long service leave. The danger we fall into with this group is that when we set what in legal terms is called an outer limit contract, the Commission has made various decisions about termination within that period. And so if we are going to terminate a max-term contingent worker within their period of employment, we need to do so on very good and proper reasons. Again, in consultation with their employer, Commensura, and ensure that we do that in a procedurally fair manner. The final group of workers come from what we call vendors. Now, vendors are a very varied group. Some of our vendors are employed by large organisations, and those organisations have their own human resources and performance management processes. We don't really need to worry about those. The group of vendors we do need to worry about are those either sole traders or people who use an ABN and contract with various organisations. These people, under a range of pieces of legislation, will be deemed employees. And so we need to be very careful about the nature of of the relationship we have with these companies, these vendors, and how we deal with them if we've made a decision that we should bring that relationship to an end. Because typically some of these people could take us again to the Industrial Relations Commission and argue that they're an employee, that the vendor relationship, the contract was a sham, and therefore they're entitled to employment because of a reasonable expectation of ongoing employment with iCare. So those issues need to be reflected upon and need to influence how we deal with them in terms of performance management, performance improvement, and if it comes to it, in termination. Thank you.